Hi, my topic is being in your own world. I just went through something for the last few weeks, and it was a pain they call sciatic, like compression in the body and the leg, and the pain of it. I was fine the whole time, but and to look to see, well, what was the cause of that? What set me up to have that experience? And I have a wonderful healing professional I work with does acupuncture and that sort of thing, getting the energy flowing. And so anyway, started to look at what was it that brought about this pain in the body and put me basically out of commission for 3 weeks. But still, I read, I studied. It was time well spent, so it wasn't that. But to look to see, well, I don't really want to have that again. So what was the cause of that? And it doesn't mean that I was looking to see who's to blame or whatever. And it was called stacking. That meant it was a number of things that were happening. And our challenge is to be able to stay in our own world. That means our own consciousness, without getting contaminated by the consciousness of other people who are not really in harmony with how we choose to be living our experience. And each of us has a right to choose that ourselves. We don't have to be part of a collective. And that means that we don't just get along to go along. We don't just sell ourselves out for money or for whatever else that we think that we need or desire in these physical bodies. And yet we have to take all those things into consideration. But the key is staying focused and centered in ourselves without all of these distractions, interferences, all of the fear, all of the anger, all of the guilt, all the shame, all the stuff that's going on out there, the war, the fighting, the this and that. But people don't even know what they're fighting for. It's just the fight to fight the fight for some reason. And we get caught up in other people's consciousness. And consciousness is contagious. So a happy attitude helps other people to be happy unless they really want to be angry. And then they could get really angry because you're happy, that kind of thing. And souls are feeling bodies. And there's emotions and feelings. And emotions are thought driven. That means we're reacting to the outer world of effects, to allow the outer world to control how we feel in the inner world. And then looking in the outer world to find the satisfaction and the happiness and the good feelings that we really desire. So we're trying to manage and get everything going on in the outer world to protect us, to maintain our status quo, to give us what we need. And it always comes up short because the only place where we can really have that satisfaction and fulfillment is when we're really centered in ourselves. And as feeling bodies, feelings are natural. Those are soul generated. There is no opposite to love. Fear is not the opposite of love. That's ridiculous because fear is an implant. It's not natural to the divine beings that we are because we have nothing to fear. There's no thing that can frighten us because things are creations and we're not a creation. We are eternal beings. And so by staying in your own world, oftentimes people say, well, you're in your own world. You mean, well, I'm supposed to be in your world? Well, you're just doing what you want to be doing. Well, what are you doing? Are you doing what you want to be doing? And how do we keep our center if all around us is a cyclone? How do we keep our center if whatever's going on with everybody else in their world? Because it's almost like, well, if you care, you have to get involved and you have to take on their problems and you have to build that consciousness. You got to fight the fight and do all these kind of things that really aren't natural to us. We don't need to fight because we don't have an enemy, you see. So the only enemy we could ever really have that could get to us is to be an enemy to yourself. And to be an enemy to yourself is to get caught up in self-destruction. And emotions are so strong, like anger and hatred and jealousy and envy, competition, grudges. Look at these energies, what they do. And I had a number of different things that had happened, and part of it was anger that I didn't recognize and realize that I had there, but because I started to notice, obviously, about all the stuff going on in the world that you hear about and you read about, and going on in people's lives and everything, that it's like, was angry, like, well, this shouldn't be happening, this isn't natural, this isn't right. And all of the suffering that are going on through humans and animals and all of these divine beings. And by taking on that anger, it's justified, always, of course. But the problem is the energy of the anger is so destructive. And fear and anger shut down the immune system immediately. So we have no defense, in a sense, no protection for ourselves, because we have taken on some kind of consciousness, somebody else's energy. And a lot of times we do that so that we're liked, that people will like us, and they say, oh, well, you care, look how you're taking on our troubles and our pain and our suffering. No, when you live in your own world, it doesn't mean that you don't have compassion and caring for others and want the best for them. And everything that you're doing really is the most harmonious you can be, given where you are and what's going on, time, place, and circumstance, to be in harmony with yourself and to be in harmony with nature, and therefore in harmony with everybody. So it actually takes our work to stay balanced and to stay in harmony. And there were a number of things. There was change of the weather, and I was out in the cold and wasn't really acknowledging I didn't need to have a chill. So there was a number of factors. And then I started gardening and lifting heavy bags of, potting soil and doing all these sorts of things, going, oh, well, it doesn't matter, I could just do this. And so the stacking was one thing. There was the anger that was there that I hadn't recognized, and that becomes like fire and heat, and there's energy, and to realize that anger comes from hurt, and hurt also can generate fear. And if you take a look at who you hate and what you hate in the world, it's also what you fear, and it's who you fear and what you fear, and these fears are actually thought forms. And they say, well, you have to be realistic about it. There is something to fear. Well, it's a thing, so it's a creation, so it's going to have an end. Everything that has a beginning has an end. And then that end is going to generate another beginning, because, in a sense, that's how the time machine operates. It continues to do that repetitively. But we're not of the machine. We are divine beings. And we're sensitive and we're caring, and you don't want to be empathetic in the sense of taking on the other person's troubles. That doesn't help them. And you don't help someone by getting into the ditch with them. You throw them a rope or a ladder. Knowledge, information, food, whatever you can that's going to help them to attain what they want, but they themselves have to desire, have to know what they desire in their hearts, what they desire. And what happens is, with the problem with desire, is that we have so many desires out there and so many expectations and all of this stuff coming at us all the time from every which way, that the key is we have to get back to nature. And like right now, to be outside, it feels so good, and leaning against this tree, and my body feeling the energy of the soil and the earth, and pretty soon be hearing the birds, and having that time that we give ourselves to be peaceful, to be quiet, to center ourselves, to do our spiritual work. And when we're so busy doing everything else, we're in the mind all the time. And then the mind becomes the enemy that we have of ourselves. But who are we fighting? Our own mind. And allowing the consciousness of others who are in their minds and in the fighting game, and whose side are you on in this war and that challenge, and fight against this and keep this going. Wait a minute. You don't have to partake of any of it. And what that means is What is love of self? It's not I love Terry, I just love Terry. No, I'm not, this is not Terry anyway. This is my 3D body expression. I'm grateful for all of that. But the being is who is important. For when we're centered, we're not stacking one issue on another issue and on another issue, because the more we become unconscious, the more we become repetitive, the more we're following all mind programs or whatever is coming at us through the continual media. You've got to unplug. And only you can do that. You say, well, I don't have the time. Really? Is your time running out? How much time do you have? Time bigger than you? Time greater than you? Okay. Really comes down to you. And you're in the divine, you and God, you source. You know, we can't even use the word God now. But it doesn't matter. They're just words. Because see, when you know and you experience yourself, it's beyond the creation. You are a co-creator. You're a creator. Yeah. You're a creator being. You're a love being. Compassionate, caring. But caring doesn't mean I take on your problems. Caring doesn't mean I lose myself. Caring doesn't mean I betray myself. See, you're an eternal being. It's all there in the aloneness of yourself. And you got to do this for you. What's true, what's valid, what's meaningful. Not all this mundane stuff. Not all of this trite stuff. These running here and running there and running. You're an eternal, you cannot die. You're going to be with you forever. Always have been. You are eternity itself. And the fear of dying, the fear of loss, the fear of my family, my this, my stuff, my things. It's so dramatic. Yeah, look what you're doing. Your drama. Fakey movie. I always ask people, would you spend $20 or $10, whatever it costs to go to some movie of your life? Is it that interesting? See, you are life. And if you gotta love yourself, which means honor yourself. What do you need? It's not going to come from anybody or anything out there. But how you're going to help yourself is to get back to who you are. Take those things away from your children so that they become technocrats. Really? They're divine beings. They're gods. With all divine powers and creativity and magnificence. That's where we need to be. And then every day give yourself opportunities to tune in, to breathe, to center yourself, to let go of the pettiness, to get go of the circuses and the games and the this. What are you doing? Cog in a wheel? Will the real you please stand up? Yeah. Take some nice breaths. Use your breath to center you. Find your meditation ways. Go to the quiet places. Get back to who you are. There's nothing wrong with you. You never really made a mistake. No. Trust in the divine.